You may remember in our last video where we said that most of the time you don't really have to worry about timing currents. Today is one of those days where you do need to time. We're gonna go from Wrightsville Beach to Southport, North Carolina today, and we have to do the Cape Fear River during that time. Cape Fear can have like up to 4 or 5 knots of current. We have a king tide right now, so we are expecting every last bit of that. But we need to time it, which means that we're not gonna leave Wrightsville Beach until about 9:15 this morning. So we are going to go for a walk on the beach this morning for sunrise.
The Cape Fear River requires timing. The problem is that Snow's Cut is just before the Cape Fear River, and they are on the opposite current schedule. So if you have the Cape Fear River with you, then you'll have Snow's Cut against you. Snow's Cut is significantly shorter and typically sees slightly less current. Our rule of thumb is that we take Snow's Cut against us and the river with us. The other thing is that you're not gonna run into those same kind of wind versus current situations in Snow's Cut because it's a lot more protected. So you're not gonna be dealing with any sort of potentially larger waves in Snow's Cut if you have the wind behind you and the waves against you, or the current against you, excuse me. So that's what we're gonna do today. Current is supposed to switch for the middle part of the Cape Fear River, where we will enter it at 11 o'clock. It is currently 9:22. We just got back onto the ICW. We are currently expected to hit the Cape Fear River at 11:07. So we are expecting that it's going to be a little bit later than that because we will have the current against us for most of the way to that point, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'm expecting us to hit it around 11:30, which means we should have a nice, easy ride down the Cape Fear River. The other thing is that there is a couple of shoaling spots between here and Carolina Beach. As we come towards the Mason Borough Inlet, we're gonna need to deal with that. And then there's another one a little bit further down.
So this is one of like the trickiest sections, I think, in the entire ICW. Snow's Cut, so it's wicked current, narrow, there's some rocks, whole bunch of other boat traffic. So I think we're almost through the absolute worst of it, but there's still quite a bit of shoals going on. We're about to enter Southport and return into the ICW there from the Cape Fear River. Something to keep in mind is that if you're riding the current down, the current can be really strong. We have almost 4 knots of current with us, and like in a like 5 or 6 knot boat, if you overshoot it, you're gonna have a hell of a time coming back up to the entrance. So what I like to do is hug the western side, then I can just cut right into the ICW when it comes up. And then the other thing to be prepared for is that if you're riding the current down, the current's going to be against you the second you enter the ICW at Southport. So you'll go from going like 9 knots to like 3 knots, 4 knots. And hopefully we'll be able to find a spot to anchor in the Southport Basin. Looks like the northern part of the basin is not very deep.
Not even deep enough for pivot. So we were planning to stop in Southport, but when we got in there, we realized there's not really a lot of space, and the second anchorage we were considering also was basically shoaled in. So we continued on, which may or may not be a stupid idea, but we'll find out later. There's not a lot of light this time of year, so we're trying to make it to Calabash Creek, which is the South Carolina border. But it's going to be real tight on light. We're probably going to make it after sundown. Whether it's after sundown with a little bit of time to spare or not, I don't know, but we'll see. Right now, we are coming up on Lockwood Folly, which is one of the worst shoaling areas on the ICW. Currently, it may be the worst shoaling spot on the ICW. It was actually dredged last year, but it has already shoaled back in again to like 5 feet at low. We draw about 4 feet 3 inches, and we are at a like -0.3 tide today. So there is a really good chance we're gonna run aground. I'm gonna be pulling back the throttle here in just a second. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed that we're not gonna run aground. We are going to follow the Bob 423 tracks like as closely as we absolutely can through here. And I'm gonna creep. One good thing is that we are hitting it at slack tide, which means I'm not gonna be dealing with a lot of cross currents. So if you come through here and you are not at slack tide, there is a lot of cross current through here. This is also a very, very popular fishing area. So there's always a lot of small little center consoles and john boats just chilling. And sometimes they are in the actual channel. So most of the time they'll move out of your way. They understand how shallow it is through here. But yeah, not a fun spot at all. We're just gonna keep our fingers crossed that, that everything's gonna be just fine. So I'm gonna start slowing down here as we come in. I'm doing 7.7 knots over the ground, which means I have about 1.5 knots of current with me. We'll see.
Not good. Honey, not good.
Not good.
Not good.
So one of the really kind of cool things is that with Bob 423 and the group that he runs and the surveyors and everything, the Coast Guard, he really has the ears of the Coast Guard and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And when he came through about a month ago, and had to redo the track, he let the Coast Guard know, and they have now since moved the ATONs, the aids to navigation. So the buoys on the chart are incorrect, but that's actually, I prefer it that way because those are gonna help me stay on the track as best I can here. So I have 10 feet of water at the moment. I am not quite over the line yet into the potentially really shallow spot, but all right, here we go. This is the most shallow section. Well, I'm just crossing over the shoaling spot right now. 7.2, 7.3, 7.2. Okay. I usually don't like get stressed out until it gets down to like the 6 mark, but oh, we're coming. Here we go. Here we go. We're almost through it. I think I can give it a little bit more. I think I'm over it. I'm back up to 10 feet now, so. All right, I was for sure thought we were gonna be running aground here. So I don't wanna jinx myself yet, but I should be okay now. The worst section as far as the surveys is over, so.
We are very, very close to shore right now.
I love how Andy's up on the bow and I can still narrate from here. So we got a couple small boats coming up behind us, which that should be fine. I am actually going to give us a little bit more goose now because I think we are in really good shape now. We've made it past the worst of it for sure. Up to almost 12 feet of water.
We had one more shoaling spot left on our very long day, and while it was narrow, shallot wasn't so bad.
It's 5 o'clock. The sun has gone down and we have another 4.5 miles to our anchorage, which is Calabash Creek, which is in like the North Carolina, South Carolina line. We're not going to make it there before dark. It's kind of a bummer, but we've been there twice before. This will be our third time. I think it's going to be fine. We hope. We hope.
We did make it to our anchorage after dark with no complications, but we can't recommend traveling on the ICW after dark. It is a lot more difficult than open ocean night travel. We'll see y'all next time.